I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Another week, another fake whistleblower is being trotted out by MAGA Republicans. This time, they're claiming that there is this IRS whistleblower who has information that Merrick Garland compromised the criminal investigation into Hunter Biden and basically prevented the prosecutor who ultimately entered into a plea agreement with Hunter Biden, basically prevented that prosecutor from doing his work and controlled what the prosecutor was doing and prevented the prosecutor from successfully prosecuting Hunter Biden, even though Hunter Biden's pleading guilty to 2 criminal counts and is taking a diversionary program with respect to another gun charge. Let's just completely debunk, though, this whole ridiculous new whistleblower thing, okay? First and foremost, every single week the MAGA Republicans come up with a new fake whistleblower, and ultimately they've demonstrated that these are not real whistleblowers. These people don't exist. And MAGA Republicans have been utterly embarrassed, but I guess they have no shame at all, as they've demonstrated that they're just completely lying. In a world where evidence should matter, MAGA Republicans simply don't care about it and rely on innuendo and just defamatory statements, right? So every single week I feel like we're reporting on, MAGA Republicans say that there's a whistleblower. All right, well, where's the whistleblower? The whistleblower's missing. The whistleblower's dead. The whistleblower's too afraid to come forward. The whistleblower is in jail. The whistleblower is in Russia. It's a Russian oligarch. No one's heard from him. The whistleblower can't be found, whatever the excuse is, right? Remember last week or 2 weeks ago, there were 17 audio recordings, the MAGA Republicans said, that would prove that President Biden was caught on an audio recording accepting bribes, right? And then where are the audio recordings? Well, actually, the audio recordings don't exist. Really? I mean, MAGA Republicans, after going out there and just saying there are audio recordings and lying, and then Rupert Murdoch's New York Post and Fox and all these other right-wing networks would have headlines like Joe Bribin caught on audio recording, all of these things. Then the audio recording doesn't exist. You just like make these things up. Remember the other thing, there's this FD 1023 form. Release the form right now. And it turns out the form is hearsay on top of hearsay on top of hearsay. And someone who made the allegations to an FBI informant in Russian was actually a kind of Russian-Ukrainian oligarch who was loyal to Vladimir Putin, who nobody has heard from, and obviously has the interests of Vladimir Putin and is trying to harm the United States of America. And the MAGA Republicans say, we need to be more helpful in protecting the Russian oligarchs who want to provide information about President Joe Biden. Like, what are you talking about? Are you serious? And again, as I mentioned at the outset of the video, the most recent one, we heard rumblings of this IRS whistleblower thing last week when Hunter Biden entered into a plea agreement with the United States attorney, the lead prosecutor in Delaware, that they were going to say that, the prosecutor was compromised. And that's what they're leaning in on this week. Not only that, but you have Kevin McCarthy, the weakest speaker of the House in history, saying that Merrick Garland should be impeached if the facts ultimately end up showing that Merrick Garland compromised the investigation, which Merrick Garland did not compromise the investigation. And let's just break it down very simply. The prosecutor who entered into the plea agreement with Hunter Biden was appointed by Donald Trump. So the prosecutor's name is David Weiss. He's the United States attorney in Delaware. He was appointed by Donald Trump in 2018 as a United States attorney, which is the lead federal prosecutor for a specific district. In this case, David Weiss was the lead federal prosecutor appointed by Donald Trump for Delaware. When a new presidential administration comes into power, it is tradition, the standard practice, that you fire all of the United States attorneys, all of the top prosecutors from the prior administration, because you want to have federal prosecutors who are loyal to you. It essentially happens in every administration. You don't want the United States attorneys with the priorities of the prior administration staying in control of the various prosecutorial offices across the country. But with President Biden, he allowed Trump's appointed prosecutor who initiated the criminal investigations against Hunter Biden in 2018 to remain in his position as the United States Attorney. So President Biden was well within his rights to fire David Weiss, the 2018 Trump-appointed prosecutor who was criminally investigating his son. But President Biden not only didn't want any appearance of impropriety, he didn't even want a scent of anything resembling an appearance of impropriety. So President Biden took an unprecedented step, or a fairly unprecedented step, and basically said, look, I can fire this prosecutor in Delaware who's going after my son, and I was well within my rights to do it. But I'm going to keep in place the Trump-appointed prosecutor going after my son, criminally investigating my son, because I believe in the rule of law, and I'm not going to do anything to try to in any way be viewed as influencing that investigation. So ultimately, David Weiss continued to prosecute Hunter Biden, and last week entered into a plea agreement with Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden agreed to plead guilty to 2 counts of tax-related crimes and a diversionary program on a gun charge. And the MAGA Republicans said, oh, that was weaponization of the Department of Justice. Somehow the Trump-appointed prosecutor entering into a plea agreement was weaponization, and Merrick Garland compromised this. And there's an IRS whistleblower. Again, here comes the super secret whistleblower who has the information. But look, on June 7th, so before the Hunter Biden plea agreement was ever even announced, the Trump-appointed prosecutor, David Weiss, sent a letter to Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan is not a licensed lawyer. David Weiss, the Trump-appointed prosecutor, is a licensed lawyer and a fairly well-respected lawyer, even though he was appointed by Donald Trump. And David Weiss said in the letter to Jim Jordan on June 7th, I want to make clear that as the Attorney General Merrick Garland has stated, I, David Weiss, have been granted ultimate authority over the matter, including responsibility for deciding where, when, and whether to file charges, and for making decisions necessary to preserve the integrity of the prosecution consistent with federal law, the principles of federal prosecution, and departmental regulations. So if David Weiss, the Trump-appointed 2018 federal prosecutor who remains the lead federal prosecutor in Delaware, was lying in that letter, if that statement to Jim Jordan was a lie, then David Weiss would be risking his entire legal license. It would be a crime as well. David Weiss would be criminally prosecuted for lying to Congress and saying that in a letter. And if that was not true, and that simply makes no sense at all that David Weiss would ever do such a thing. And David Weiss is representing, as an officer of the court, as a licensed attorney, that Merrick Garland had absolutely no control over it, and that the ultimate responsibility for deciding where, when, and whether to file charges and for making these ultimate decisions was David Weiss's decision, Trump appointed, and David Weiss's decision alone. But why let the facts get in the way of a MAGA Republican conspiracy? Why even address what I just said? I mean, you have a Trump-appointed prosecutor who wrote the letter to Congress. It would be a crime for him to lie. Just let the MAGA Republicans go and spread their lies like they do every single week. So this is what Kevin McCarthy said on Fox yesterday about launching impeachment inquiries into Attorney General Merrick Garland for compromising David Weiss's criminal case and ultimately charges against Hunter Biden. Play this clip.
Miranda Devine says that Joe Biden met with his business partners 12 times. 12 different times and 12 different deals, perhaps. So it's according to Rob Walker, who was in on all this stuff, good friend. He's all over the laptop. So will this prompt you to do a impeachment inquiry?
Well, you apparently don't follow me on Twitter, because yesterday I laid out very, very clearly by July 6th, because of the allegations from the IRS, because of the whistleblowers and the DOJ, Garland, what he is saying and what David Weiss are saying privately are two different things.
Right.
And if it comes true what the IRS whistleblower is saying, we're going to start impeachment inquiries on the Attorney General.
Well,
okay, you see, they just ignore every fact. It's important that we just talk about the facts. Like, they ignore Trump-appointed prosecutor, has already confirmed to the House Judiciary Committee in a letter that he had full control over the criminal investigation. Ignore the fact that Biden could have validly fired David Weiss and kept the prosecutor prosecuting his son. But to MAGA Republicans, that's weaponization. Like what? Oh, and by the way, this is Kevin McCarthy on the same show after being asked, so have you found that Joe Biden has broke any rules, any laws, or does it just look fishy? And of course, McCarthy cannot say that Biden broke any rules or laws because he didn't. Play the clip.
Miranda Devine says that Joe Biden met with his business partners 12 times. 12 different times and 12 different deals, perhaps. So it's according to Rob Walker, who was in on all this stuff. Good friend. He's all over the laptop. So will this prompt you to do a impeachment inquiry?
Well, you apparently don't follow me on Twitter, because yesterday I laid out very, very clearly by July 6th, because of the allegations from the IRS, because of the whistleblowers and the DOJ, Garland, what he is saying and what David Weiss are saying privately are two different things.
Right.
And if it comes true what the IRS whistleblower is saying, we're going to start impeachment inquiries on the Attorney General.
Well, and finally, it just demonstrates how screwed up Republican principles are. Like, other than kind of MAGA Twitter, or like MAGA rally events, or whatever these fascist events are, like, are the American people into this stuff? I mean, like, I think the American people care about jobs and healthcare and better working conditions and education and Social Security and Medicare and making sure we can protect a woman's right to control her own body and equality and protecting veterans and supporting our troops and like things like that. Like MAGA Republicans don't care about that. Like they're obsessed with Hunter Biden naked, like photos of Hunter Biden having consensual sex with people. That's what MAGA Republicans are obsessed with. It's really weird. It's really weird. It's really strange. It's dangerous. And it's just so out of touch with what we're talking about. Like President Biden talking about bringing broadband to people, $45 million investment in broadband, rebuilding I-95 after the road, got destroyed within, a few weeks, a manufacturing boom that's taking place before our eyes, delivering a paid sick leave to railroad workers. I mean, those are real things as compared to what this MAGA Republican new conspiracy, fake whistleblower, down some ridiculous rabbit hole. So utterly absurd and disgusting. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 1.5 million subscribers. Thanks to your support. Check us out at patreon.com. Subscribe to the audio of the MeidasTouch podcast and leave a comment below as well. And make sure you hit subscribe on this video. Have a great day.
Hey, Meidas Mighty. Love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.